again, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Metro Detroit, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents on what they love about being a part of Detroit, just the Detroit general area up there in Michigan. So I'm super excited to have my guest Evan with us today. Evan, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Macy, thank you for having me. I've been watching your podcast and you're doing an awesome job. I'd love to be talking to you today. So great. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. I just realized Evan and I have known each other for a little bit over around 2 years now, which is crazy. I feel like it was just yesterday. I remember when we first set up our first like trust build or our first one-to-one together. And we were both, I feel like, in different spaces. Like you were really branching out, I want to say, with what you're doing now. You were kind of getting newer into it, I want to say. But I mean, regardless, I'm really excited to kind of do an updated kind of version of this. So why don't you kind of kick us off and tell me a little bit about your journey coming to Canton, coming to Michigan, from New York?
Well, actually, I was born in Buffalo, New York, and
Hmm.
I always say it's a great place to be from, and everybody knows someone from Buffalo. But I think it was just like 5 years ago that stopped saying that I just moved to Michigan. But I've been here almost 20 years, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And I love it. I mean, I got married here and I have kids here, and they're the shining of my life. But I had a business in Massachusetts before. I got married and I moved out to Michigan because my wife at the time she got a job offer here and we moved out here. So I had to start all over again. And so it's been really a great ride. And the people in Detroit area are really great. We spent a lot of time in Ann Arbor and in that area too. So
Yeah, I remember I was just talking to Steve Ziskowski, who's the SiriusNet founder that we know really well, a few days ago, and he was saying that there really was no other networking community that he really found just like Michigan, like Detroit, Michigan. They had so many great networking communities that he was a part of, and there was really nothing like it for him. So I think that kind of echoes what you were kind of saying about being in Michigan and the
well,
area.
Macy, well, that's another topic, but Steve was one of the first people I met in Michigan when I first moved here. And, that
Really?
was one of the first groups I had joined. Actually, I don't think I joined them right away because my spot was taken. So,
Yeah, because he's really grown now. So if your spot is kind of taken in one group, there might be another group that is available for you. Because SiriusNet has, I think, how many groups? I don't know, 20?
17 or 18
Oh,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't want to sound really dumb right now.
No,
But
I
he's
don't know.
doing yeah, yeah. He has a
Amazing.
decent amount basically. That even people like me in Florida can still tune in and get some great connections there. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your business, and I'm not going to put any words in your mouth because you do the best when explaining what you do. So why don't you kind of talk a little bit about starting that and what
So,
the
you
inspiration
know,
behind it?
I actually been in business in different forms for like 23 years or so. I actually started as a personal trainer, always be a personal trainer, but it's evolved almost to, I call it, talk about optimal health coaching and consulting because we've expanded to working more with health professionals and now we're working with companies too to get people healthy. Because I always joke around and say people don't really care about the health; they care about what matters most to them in life. So really getting them present and really learning a new skill set of what their body's full potential is. And we have a big job. We're looking at the next, as we're getting older, we're going to be living longer, but are we going to live our life the best way? And so
Mm,
looking for ways to help people feel better about themselves and build relationships with people. And it all is the foundation of building from health and really being present to understanding what muscle is and muscle is medicine and the fuel is the metabolism and really that's not really as important as being present for your family and for us that own a business to be more focused on the business, be able to spend more time with our family.
exactly.
That's as simple
Yeah.
as it gets. And really being more, it's like to live your best life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really loved how you talked about really understanding like the muscle mass and really understanding the why behind everything you're doing. And this is kind of like literally the polar opposite of what you're doing. But I love to bake. I love to bake anything, and I love baking sweet stuff, right? But I really love the aspect of learning how to do it. And sometimes my dad's like, "Oh, I want to learn," so he'll just be over my shoulder and I'll explain like every single step. Why are we putting in the eggs now? Why are we going to do this to the flour instead of this? Why are we going to mix it like this instead of this? Because it'll activate, this in the cookie or that in the cake. And it helps so much more when I'm baking and going through the recipe because I know, like, oh, if I put a little bit too much of this, it's going to taste like that, and then it's going to look weird. Which is very similar when it comes to your health and your body. It's not just, oh, I ate a salad today, I'm going to be really healthy. This was the best thing I've done. And there's so many more aspects that play into it.
But at the same time, Macy, it's not about one meal. It's like learning. Like, it's different when you're actually baking for yourself and you're
Sure.
going through the process and someone will show us like, tell me when you do this. It's like you have to have the patience to really answer those questions because you know what to do. You don't need to measure things out anymore. You know what to do. And I say with myself, but like I get excited about really getting someone who's frustrated. I always say frustrated and angry because they've tried different things, but
Mm,
getting them present to say, okay, I want to learn. And so, how does the exercise impact the nutrition and the metabolism? And everybody, the mobility is the most important thing because how we move around is really important. And most people, like we talk about muscle, most people think of the how we look, and it is
mm,
about how we look because it's about your performance
mm.
and your performance when you're standing up and you're in the face of something important. It's your health that really integrity of your health and your emotional fitness to really get you through getting through any activity through life.
Definitely. Yeah. I think this is a really big and maybe relevant question for you and the space that you're in. How do you help people when they start to fall into the comparison game, right? Of, oh, this person's been doing this and they look so much better. How come I don't look like that? What are some of the ways that you can kind of help people with that?
That's a good question. It's just getting the present because like people don't like to document things, but it's important to document because then you can see what you're doing well, what you're not doing so well, and then also how you can get help. And so, like going through and when you die, I've had many clients is that if we're going to talk about weight, because that's the most important thing people think about. It's not the most important thing, but that's what they look. Like I've had several clients lose over 100 pounds, and the goal of losing 1.5 to 2 pounds a week is probably optimum that you need to do. Okay. However, if someone looks at the charts, oh, I gained 5 pounds, I lost three, I gained two, I gained one, lost three, lost four. And you get frustrated, but it's like when you see the big picture, and then also with documenting, you get to see, okay, what was the reason behind that specific event? If it's continuing happening, then something needs to change. It doesn't matter if it's in business or in someone's health. But then at that same time, you get to acknowledge where they are and get them to pull back and say, this is what you're doing. And so you can help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it's like, okay, and believe in the process. And then you start enjoying the journey because it's like more fun because they did the work. I just sat there and,
Cheered them
no one
on.
wants to work out with me. So
That's so funny. Yeah, well, accountability is a really big thing, especially if you have goals and you're really willing to work towards them. That's the number one thing you should always do is have some form of
yeah.
accountability as someone like a coach, or an accountability partner, or whatever that may look like for you personally. Because that's what I'm currently going through in my business as well as I've had success in it, but I didn't track a lot of it, like a decent amount of it, I would say I didn't. And so now I'm doing like a daily structuring out my day. Like, what did I do today? Did I make sure I was as productive as I could be? How many people did I talk to? How many things did I do? And now I'm like, oh, damn. Now it puts everything into perspective of how I handle. I'm like, I could probably do this a little bit easier and it makes more sense only because I was able to track it and I really understood what was going on with my day and my week and measuring out my time.
And I know you have a good coach and mentor, but at the same time, when you actually look at so the thing is, when you're documenting stuff, you can see, okay, this is what I need to work on now because it gives a woman all the different things you have to work on. Now, I'm talking about health, you're talking about business, and it's like looking at, okay, seriously, it is a lot of stuff is transferable to business in terms of your health. And really, how can you lead people into action and to get results that you want if you're not able to lead yourself?
Right.
And so being mindful of that and also companies, 92% of employees like are not as healthy as should be, and their absentee rate is goes skyrocketing because their health. If you can improve that by 5 or 10%, so does your productivity. So
Oh,
taking a
yeah.
stand for someone's health overall makes a big difference
Yeah, it wasn't
in
too
their
long
life and also
ago.
in your
Yeah.
business, and you can't afford to lose that. So
Oh, definitely. It wasn't too long ago. I was actually at a conference and he was like, "Hey, if you were a student athlete, raise your hand." Or if you ever were like really into athletics. And he's like, "You will be really successful in your business because you already understand how to be coachable to someone. You already understand, like working towards a goal, and you already understand discipline." And those are the three main things you really need in a business. Is number one, you have to have someone to take you to where you want to go. You really can't go aimless, just like, with athletics, when it comes to your health, your fitness, all those things, is you kind of need someone to help share that vision with you,
absolutely,
as well as, listening to them, which is a big thing. You can hire people, but if you don't listen to them, it doesn't matter. And then having that determination and then also having that winning mindset are all really big things. So when you were saying like, oh, what you're doing with fitness and what I'm talking about in business, they're quite transferable when we look at it because
absolutely.
it's all the basics of it.
I do focus, the way my terminology, I really focus on educate people on results in terms of
Mhm.
mindset, mobility, muscle metabolism. And mindset is everything we do is mindset, but it's an emotional fitness. And you can be determined to do anything, but if your body's not able to perform the way it should, you can't. You can be motivated, but motivation is going to die. And so that's where the discipline comes in because now all of a sudden, for a time, that's also in business. It's like you do the work, and all of a sudden you realize you're the inspiration because you're getting the results because you did the hard work. And the same in health, and that transfers a lot for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you so much for coming on, sharing a few minutes, really educating, I think, my audience on a lot of different things that, we have to keep in mind when it comes to things as our health and our fitness. And I think the biggest thing is to just start, right? So I'll make sure I have all of Evan's information in the description so you can click, copy, paste, reach out, ask any questions, and just kind of get started. So many people, especially when it comes to fitness, like fitness is the cliche I want to say about it. I'm like, oh, I can start tomorrow, or I have time tomorrow. But starting today is always the best day to start, and starting tomorrow is always too late. So I'll make sure people check that out. Evan's a great person to have in your contact. He's one of those go-getters who always wants to cheer you on and see you succeed. So, Evan, thank you so much for the time today. It's been really amazing to have you on.
Macy, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
And to everyone listening, I really appreciate you as well, and I will see you next time.